where it belongs. You don't need to go out and extend the UDB. No.
Your question was, when would we be willing to vote to move the UDB, right?
Can you envision any argument that would compel you to vote yes?
Yes, when we would no longer need the Everglades, when we would no longer need our source of water, when we would no longer need to protect the animals that need protection. That's when I would vote to move the UDB. There's one thing that people aren't thinking about when they answer the question. For development, for building, no. But for water protection, environmental protection, the UDB may have to be adjusted based on the hydrology study that's going to be out in 2011. So if everybody says absolutely no, they may be hurting the environment by that statement. We may have to take in more land. What if they say that in order to protect the water sources, the water flow based on the hydrology study, that we need to take more land on the west? So you may have to expand it in order to protect the environment. So you have to be careful. You want to always say we want to hold the integrity of the line. So as far as development, as far as building, no. As far as protecting our environment, we have to wait and see. So you have to keep that in mind, that you have to hold the integrity of that line. And you know what, a lot of people don't understand the reason why you even have an urban development boundary line. That was created to be provision of service territory. When people started building in Miami-Dade County, there would be a house all the way out here and a house all the way out here. So that line was created for service territories so that the services that were being provided by government would reach the residents. That's why you have the urban development boundary line. And so we've taken that in now to be an environmental protection, which is good, which is right. So you have to make sure that you are adjusting your argument to protect the environment and not just to be so hard line that if there's an adjustment based on any kind of environmental studies that you're hard line about that. So, but the answer on development is no. By the way, I attended a school, the Design Institute at Abacoa in Jupiter, Florida. There are so many things that you can do as far as urban design guidelines and urban design, as far as building and infill housing and infill development, that you do not need to build outside the UDB. You do not need to, based on proper building, especially to make it easier to walkability. Thank you.
I think that the Everglades are going to be there forever. There's no need to be thinking about a doomsday scenario that there will be no Everglades or there will be no drinking water. We need to protect the Everglades and our drinking water. In the next 8 years, absolutely not. I don't think that there will be a need. Why? Because there's a lot of land available. And we have to use the lessons learned from the past and do a lot of infill development. Take the transit corridor, use it to provide tax credit incentive for developers to build throughout. And in addition, I don't think the county has the financial wherewithal to provide services outside of UDB. Right now, the county cannot provide additional police, fire, sewer, etc. Services outside. So if someone would even envision it's not possible.
All right, this is a question from Shelley Stanzik. Many of the candidates don't want to move the urban development boundary, and apparently all. But some of the candidates don't want density. For those who don't want to increase density, why? Today, who have we not started with? Have we? Oh, stop, please.
Unfair. When you talk about density, you talk about not moving the urban. There's a balance. There's proper growth and proper development. Whenever you have a master plan, and when you have a municipality, you should master plan that municipality. And you're going to have areas of higher density, you're going to have areas of lower density. There are areas that should only have one house per acre. There are areas that are going to have multiple. What we did in the city of Homestead is we have those areas carved out. My house is in the middle of a neighborhood and it's on a half of an acre, but on the east side of town you have a lot higher density. But here's the rub. The whole design, the whole idea behind the design of higher density was so that there would be walkability. What the urban design guidelines that I just referred to. If you're gonna build along a transit corridor, you would give that developer a density bonus because you're building along a transit corridor. Whether it's a busway transit corridor, whether it's a metro rail transit corridor, you're gonna give a density bonus for that because you're gonna encourage walkability. But the whole idea, and that's where we got the mixed use, that's where we got the PUDs, is that you would provide a mixed use. What happened is the developers got very, very greedy. So you have PUDs that were supposed to have a combination of shopping and right within the mix of the homes so that people would be right there within their area in order to shop and live. What happened is the developers got very greedy and built, which is what caused the gut reaction to reduce the density. But there is a proper balance. You don't have to sacrifice urban development boundary line in order to have higher density in some areas and lower density in others. Thank you.
Absolutely, using the higher density and giving the proper tax credit incentive to developers, you can build proper density along transit corridor. It will reduce the emissions of gases for less cars out there. Now mind you, we only have a transit line, not a transit system. Remember that, it's only a line, not a system. So we need to take full advantage of it. Full advantage of it. Now, using proper modeling and leadership within the county commission, not to allow the proper, regulations that will be in place, then you can do the density levels that will be applicable and acceptable to the surrounding communities. We're not going to build a concrete canyon going down US 1. But something can be built that is acceptable to all those communities along that line.
It's definitely a balance, and I do believe that we need to concentrate density along transit corridors with coordination with the communities where those transit corridors are located. In other words, if there's a city or a community council, we need to work with them together. It does not need to be coming from the county and mandating that. It needs to be a partnership so that there's buy-in into that transit corridor project. Furthermore, others talked a little bit about affordable housing. That's the place where affordable housing needs to go, right along the transit corridors. We have some wonderful affordable housing projects right now along the transit corridors, and you're right, we don't have a transit system, we have a transit line. We have developed some bus lines as well, so we are working on improving the system, but we need to do a lot more when it comes to transportation.
Density is one of those hard questions, like when I talked about easy green, you've got your other side, and what are you really going to do to be green? Density is one of those hard questions, and I've come from an area where we did protect the single-family home area because I believe in nodular density, point to point, not just a concrete canyon down US 1. But you got to stop sprawl, and you got to put people somewhere. Now, if people aren't coming here anymore, which is again based upon a failure of our economic policies and our creating something that's livable, I mean, we should have a place where people want to move. The question becomes, where are you going to put them? People are like water in that they either go, when they start collecting, you either move them out, or if you don't want to move them out, they're going to have to go vertical. So you've got to start thinking about moving vertical. You've got to have a more open mind toward less traditional single-family homes. You've got to start thinking about what are you going to do, but this doesn't mean everything's going to turn over to being high density. What this means is it gets back to participating, to understanding what's at risk here, and the proper planning. I keep talking about that, proper planning with good staff, but you can't ignore density and you just can't keep pushing it around. It's got to go somewhere.
I don't know.